Let's bring you back to Gauteng now. The Premier Panyaza Lesufi is set to conduct a surprise visit at Tembisa Hospital this afternoon. This comes after he received a memorandum from advocacy group Defend Our Democracy during a picket in the name of slain whistleblower Babita Deokaran. Now, at the time of her murder last year, Deokaran was a high-ranking official in Gauteng's Health Financial Unit. She had been investigating a number of dodgy deals linked to the hospital. We understand that the Premier is speaking to the media now as he visits that hospital. Let's take you there live.
Without the necessary support from government, and I'm here to assure them that we've got the resources to support them so that they can do their work in a manner that will benefit our community. So our visit is part of cabinet doing oversight on our work, and health has been identified as one area that we need to be sure. And Tembisa Hospital is a huge anchor of government services in this area. Fortunately, I was born here, so I know this area very well. So Tembisa Hospital is a very important thing. It's just that it's overwhelmed now because there are areas that have grown: Ivory Park, Deep Sloot, Oliven, and I was sent to the MEC. We need to build a new hospital that side because this hospital can't cope now. The numbers are too huge. But I'm happy to be here, and we'll continue to monitor this kind of facilities as we move as government.
Can we ask questions?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
Premier, it's Heidi Jocks from ENCA. I just want to ask in terms of that SIU report. I know you're saying you're releasing it next week, but from the investigations that have been done and the work that has been done so far, from your understanding, and maybe the MEC should answer this, are there any officials in this hospital that are still being investigated and that are still working here?
As a preliminary report, what I've received, because when I came into office, I was under extreme pressure from society that there's a whistleblower here who played a key role in unveiling corrupt activities. You can't just keep quiet. But we didn't want just to react emotionally without proper evidence. Now that I have evidence, there are 4 huge business people that have milked this hospital on the basis of the report that I have. But it's a preliminary report, so I don't know the end product will be the same. But on the basis of the preliminary report, the evidence is damning. And that's why I'm willing to release the report so that we can attend to this problem. The problem is that if you don't solve those problems, patients will continue not to have proper food. Patients will continue not to have proper facilities. And we want to cut that umbilical cord as quickly as possible. And when we release the reports, not only the report on Tembisa Hospital, it's a report of other hospitals and other institutions that we have. We also have a hospital here called Captain Park Hospital. It has been a ghost hospital for years, so we're taking a decision about it so that people must know whether we still have that hospital or not. And there are also interesting developments of another hospital that we may get to alleviate pressure here. So we'll release those reports, but I must be honest, the 4 top names that are contained in the preliminary report that I have, the evidence is damning, and we must act as government.
But sorry, are there any officials still in this hospital that are implicated, that are still working here and have not been suspended pending the finalization of that investigation?
Not to my knowledge. Not to my knowledge. What I have, it doesn't affect staff members. It affects, obviously, the transactions were done here, so the SIU have not given me anything related to that part. Maybe it will be part of the final report. The preliminary report identifies 4 top business people that have milked this hospital.
Mr. Premier, in terms of broad investigations, because this hospital is a problematic hospital, but also...
It's not problematic.
It's problematic?
It's not, the problem is not.
How do you see that?
Yeah.
It's not problematic. I can tell you the staff component that is here is doing exceptionally well. The problems we have in this hospital is not about a doctor that didn't do a certain surgery, because that's their function. The problems we have here is not a mother that will not give birth, because that's the function of the hospital. The problem here is not about a machine that is not functional, because that's their function. The problem we are having is people that were bidding for work, which is just SCM, supply chain management, that unfortunately affected the life of somebody. And that's the part that motivates me to find an everlasting solution to that problem. But to paint the entire hospital staff and everyone here that is a problematic hospital, I honestly have my own limitations and reservations. But if you say they've got huge challenge outside what is their core mandate, which is supply chain management issues, I will agree with you on the characterization. But to paint everyone with a black brush, I really believe it will be stretching it too much.
Sorry, I just have a separate question, Premier. The Minister of Justice has announced the release of Janusz Walus. What is your response to this?
No, we expected it. I mean, it's a court decision. We just demonstrated against that particular decision, but we knew the Constitutional Court have taken a decision, and we'll note that activity. But it's a sad day. Those that know who Chris Hani was and those that know what Chris Hani's role was in being where we are today will know that that murderer doesn't deserve to be out of prison. But if a decision is taken by the court, we'll respect that. The minister tried, to be quite frank, is the one that took the matter to court, and that decision was overtaken by the Constitutional Court, and we had a session. I personally had a session with the minister on the front line of our National Executive Committee meeting, and he took us in detail the preparation for the release. So we are not surprised. The minister briefed us, but obviously disappointed, hugely disappointed, to be quite frank. And there's nothing else. Fate will meet him, Janusz Walus. He must not think that he will enjoy life when he has killed Chris Hani. He will never enjoy life. And wherever he goes, wherever he's going to, he must know he's a loser. And there's nothing heroic about him. He's a coward, actually. He killed somebody who was unarmed, and he killed our hero. So he can go and rot wherever he's going to rot. And he must know we're very angry. And I hope the shade of protection will always be around him, because we don't think that it deserves to be even in our country. He must go and rot where he will rot, and we're wishing him all the bad luck that he needs in this world, and whatever that he needs to get. We are very angry to him. He must know he'll never have a hero's welcome from us, and he must know that he represents a system that we've rejected and defeated.
Premier, if I can bring it back again to the oversight visit here at the hospital. One of the agencies that the Gauteng provincial government that oversees the maintenance of these facilities, including also Shalmatleke, that's where I learned about this, the GDA, the Gauteng
the infrastructure development.
Yes, that particular. Yes. It was cited as having some key challenges. When you say that there's no issues at the hospital, yes, there's no issues in terms of procurement, but it seems to be having issues at that level where procurement processes are somehow abused. What are you going to do in your tenure as Premier to ensure that it's turned around and we don't see some of those headlines that we saw before?
Well, that's why I'm saying that I'm releasing all the reports, and some of the reports that I'm releasing relate to those activities. There's an Ashanti Gold Hospital that was supposed to be improved at the tune of 50 million. As I'm speaking to you now, the cost of that hospital is more than 600 million. And it relates to the issues that you are talking about. So we will release that report and the actions that we've taken as government. So wait until next week. He will give you the dates, but we'll release the reports next week, all of those reports.
I want to see if we can get the MEC in, because definitely. You are the MEC of Health, and if we could just ask, you, MEC, you are live on ENCA, so I just want to ask you in terms of your assessment here at this particular hospital. I know you together with the Premier, you did say this is not a problematic hospital, but hospitals in this province are in dire need of some sort of change, because at the end of the day, it's the most vulnerable in our society that need these services. Firstly, has security been upgraded at this particular hospital after a nurse was gunned down and shot by her ex-partner or whatever it was? And are you happy with what you've seen? You've done a brief walkabout of about 5-10 minutes. Are you happy as to what you've seen?
Which I'm happy with what I've seen, because this is not the first time that I'm coming here. I think I come here almost every week. Since I've been in office in October, I work very well with the team here in changing this hospital. This change that you see is the change that myself and the acting CEO and the executive in the office that we have agreed and signed our own agreement quietly, so that we will want this hospital to change. We want to change this hospital to be in the bad news. We want, when you come here, you see a better hospital that can be like any other person in any other hospital in the province. So I'm very much happy and I'm excited. There's so much that we still need to do, including this issue of security. As we speak, CEO was telling me that the scans that we want to plug them in every area here, they have been delivered and they will be working soon. So much work that we're doing as the Gauteng Provincial Department of Health and Wellness to change this attitude that everyone is having in the hospital because of the incidents that has happened.
I wouldn't say it's an attitude, but sorry, can I ask? I wouldn't say it's an attitude, it's the reality that many face. What is being done when it comes to, for example, Helen Joseph and Rahima Musa? Because those two hospitals are also really struggling, especially when it comes to water supply.
We are working very closely with the team at Helen Joseph and the team at Rahima Musa. On the issue of the water, you can go now. There is water at Helen Joseph because we have a backup system that we have installed to ensure that there is no longer a problem of water if the municipality has cut the services on water.
MC, on the issue of the brain drain that we saw in the recent past with the nurses, the nursing staff, the provincial government's inability to pay the wage bill, where are we at this particular stage? Is this something that is also being worked on to ensure that this facility lives up to its potential?
What I know, because I had a discussion with the unions, they are doing those negotiations with the relevant unions. So the issue of the wage bill is something that is being taken into consideration.
Are you dealing with the low staff morale that you have in your hospitals? Because staff have been complaining about the conditions that they've been working in, how they're under-resourced, and that reflects on the treatment of a lot of the patients.
We have a plan already. We have launched last week in Sibukenge Wellness Wednesdays, that in every area in our hospital we must have those activities. But again, we're installing, bringing back the EAP, that each one of them that is having a problem, they must be assessed and checked in terms of their conditions. So we do have support in our nurses. I'm sure they are here, I'm not pretending. They know that I always come. When I come, I do some activities with them, I work with them, I even check how is their condition where they are working. I'm not a nurse or a doctor by profession, but I know my part that I must play at that particular role. They can tell you, you can ask any one of them, including the pharmacist. If you go to the pharmacy, they know what is expected, because I get in there and look around, they will tell me what must we do so that we can push the lines if there are lines. But again, here we have a queue management system that we have installed, and it's working so well. In fact, we are sending other teams to come and check here how you manage the queues. I'm sure you have seen at the casualty, we don't have queues. When you come here around 12 o'clock, you will never find us now having queues, because of the management system that we have installed, which is rolling out now to all the province. And we have started that recently, and it's working so well in Tembisa.
If I can follow up, MEC, so what is your long-term plan for staff retention and attracting new staff? I know that, of course, the nurses and the doctors have to do essentially their internship here before then they can go somewhere else. What is your plan to ensure you attract top talent, and what are your budgets?
We have a budget for that, but we have again a team that is working at the central office that is looking into the capacity of our staff, because we want to do more training sessions so that we have young nurses that must come on board, so that when the elders are moving, at least there is a group that is coming. Again, we are working with universities, because now I've said to them, let's make sure that we have partnership with universities so that we have interns, especially on the doctors. And at Para, we've started that process. Even at the pharmacist, we have a lot of young people who are pharmacists, who are interns. So that's our goal, that's what we want to do, and that's our long-term plan.
I just have one last question, I'm sorry. In terms of, I know the Premier briefly mentioned it, but in terms of what's going to be happening with Kempton Park Hospital, do you know the plans there, but also the Anglo Gold Ashanti Hospital as well?
At Anglo Gold Ashanti, we've walked away as a province. We are no longer going to utilize that hospital because of the condition where it is. The Zamazamas Premier went there last month with MEC for social development to see the conditions there. Clearly, that's not a good place for us to send our patients at Anglo Gold Ashanti. But again, there is that report that is going to release of the SIU that talks to things that happened at Anglo Ashanti. That's another reason that makes us to walk away from Anglo Gold Ashanti. And then the other one is Kempton Park. Kempton Park, the Department of Infrastructure Development is responsible for Kempton Park because it falls under their category. It's one of the hospitals that are supposed to be renovated or demolished. But that question, can you take it to MEC Maile to tell you about the plans of Kempton Park?
Okay. Great, thank you so much. We do appreciate it. Thank you, MEC. We do appreciate it. So that is, of course, the MEC for Health in the province. We also heard from Premier of Gauteng Panyaza Lesufi, just speaking about a number of issues. And I think what's critical and key here is the fact that we will be getting a number of reports that will be released next week that are going to speak about what happened here at Tembisa Hospital. One must remember, whistleblower Babita Deokaran blew the whistle on what was going on here during the peak of the COVID-19 pandemic. She tragically lost her life and she had exposed a number of irregularities and wasteful expenditure that was going on here. That was going on here at this hospital. So that is most definitely something we'll be looking forward to. But also what is going to be said about the Anglo Gold Ashanti Hospital, given the fact that they have indicated that that hospital will no longer be used. It was never used, but now we're being told it's not going to be used at all, and that report will, of course, expose what's actually going on.
All right, Hani Jokos and Tembisa for us. Let's leave it there for now.